This happened when I was 19 years old. I'm 29 now, so it was a fair time ago. I live in a rural town. Nothing really happens. All the buildings here are old fashioned, or the vast majority anyway, and quite a few of them are abandoned since the recession. As I'm 19 years old, since we left school, a lot of my friends have moved out of town, so we still keep in contact over Snapchat, text, and WhatsApp or whatever, but we hadn't seen each other in well over a year. There was this one house that was abandoned that me and my friends were always fascinated with when in school. We used to walk past it and talk about what it'd be like to go in there, but we never did it. It was at the back of this unkempt field. It looked like a mansion, but it was all rotting away. There were boarded up windows and graffiti all over the walls, and some of the ceiling looked like it collapsed. It wasn't the best site, and I'm pretty sure it was fairly unsafe. This building still stands to this day, and I have no idea why nothing's been done with it, or who owns the land. In school, we used to hear horror stories about things that happened there, but of course, none of them were true. It was just kids making up stories. I've never been one to go and investigate something this unsafe. I was always scared to let my mum down. She always told me that I was never to go there, and even when people from school tried to convince us to go in there, we never did. Some of the guys from school went there and said about hearing things and came back with all these horror and ghost stories, but we never really believed any of them. Anyway, one day my friend Mark hit us up on our WhatsApp group. He had moved way out of town and we hadn't seen him in ages. He said he was coming back into town. So, now that he was coming back, he said, how about we finally investigate that building we were too scared to investigate as kids? We're adults now, we'll be fine. I wasn't too sure. I'm used to my usual routine of just playing video games, going to work, coming home, having something to eat, going back to bed. I don't really like going out and testing myself. Actually, not going out and testing myself and putting myself in situations I fear is one of the things that I don't like about myself. I've always been a person who avoided anything I was scared of. Recently, actually, that's been a bit of a revelation for me. I'm trying to put myself out there more. And when I saw this message, initially, I thought, no, I can't do that. That's a potentially dangerous situation I'm not going to put myself in. But then when I thought about it, this is something that's troubled me since childhood. The fear of not going and doing things. Even not going into this building was something that I was teased for in school by some people. Screw it, I thought. I'm going to do it. So I got back to Mark in the group chat and told him I'm up for it. He said he'd be in town next week, so he was going to be staying at his grandma's. There was 4 of us in this group chat, so we just waited for the others to get back. In typical fashion, it took everyone an absolute age to get back to us, but in the end, everyone was up for it. A couple of us were a little bit more skeptical than others because why would we want to go into this building that's potentially dangerous? Who's in there? Are the stairs even safe to go up? Are we going to fall through the ceiling? We don't know, but we decided we were going to do it one evening. So, Friday evening came round. This is October time, by the way, so it's quite cold. It was very dark, and to be honest, we were all in the Halloween mood. So, earlier that day, my friends came around my house. We chilled out, we had some pizza and popcorn, and we just watched some Halloween movies. We were really getting in the spirit when I think about it. We watched the Halloween movies, and we even watched one of the Saw movies. That kind of set the tone for going to that building for the night. It's only about a 15-minute drive anyway, and it was about 10 p.m. at night, so it was pretty dark. There were so many entries into this house that it was crazy. Most of the boarded up windows had been ripped down, but there were still some old rusty jagged nails sticking out, so you had to be careful. I brought a torch anyway, so we were trying to watch our every step. We made it in the house through a window, and there we were, standing in this eerie house that almost seemed to be lost in time. It was a throwback to the early 1900s. Not much had really changed since at least I'd have to say the 1930s. This house was old. It smelt of damp, and there was mess everywhere. It was obvious that there had been some people here before. There was graffiti on the walls and empty cans on the floor, but it was dead silent. So my friends had heard a story about this old woman that used to live in the house, so they were convinced they were going to find her this night. I'm not into ghosts, and I really don't believe in them, but my friends do, so I decided that I would go on a little ghost hunt with them. Anyway, we start looking around the house for about 5 minutes, going through into what seemingly was a kitchen once. In some ways, it made me sad. This was someone's family home once, and now it's just gone. Eventually, we decided to break up into pairs. We were going to go upstairs, and my two friends were going to stay on the ground floor. So, me and my friend, Mark, went upstairs together. As we were stepping up these old wooden steps, you could hear the creaking of the floorboards, and it almost felt like the house was moving. I told Mark that we had to be completely careful with every step, otherwise we could fall through and seriously hurt ourselves. At one point I said, this is stupid, we should head back, to which Mark said he hadn't come all the way back here for nothing. I sighed and rolled my eyes and just kept going. We got upstairs and we were walking around. To be honest, I was a bit spooked out and also a little bit bored. You know that feeling where nothing's happening but you're on edge? I felt a little bit like that, almost as though I was being watched. We were walking around for probably 10 minutes, just looking at the old pictures on the walls, looking at some of the books on the floor. It was just a weird, surreal experience. That's when we heard screaming from our friends downstairs, who said they saw something. We quickly bolted it downstairs, and we saw both of them, trembling in fear, pressed against the wall. "What's wrong?" I said. Neither of them said anything, and my one friend, Mitchell, put his hand over his mouth, as if telling me to shush and be quiet. "There's someone in there," they said. That's when my heart sank. I didn't want to be in here anymore. "Who was it? What did you see?" They said they couldn't tell, but they saw a figure quickly run across one of the door frames. "We need to get out of here." But despite there being so many openings to the house, the nearest one was on the other side of this room. We just stood there against the wall, not knowing what to do, listening for any noise. We didn't hear anything. That's when, all of a sudden, we saw someone at the top of the staircase, looking around as if they was looking for somebody. Now, my heart sank at this point, and I started shaking with fear. All of my friends saw it too, so no one needed to say anything. Thankfully it was so dark in there, so you couldn't really see very well. There was just a slight illumination from the moonlight that we could see him up there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen him at all. It looked as though this person was just creeping around. Now, this 100% was not the ghost they were talking about. I don't believe in ghosts, and I don't even believe they would think this is a ghost. This is a fully grown man, or what seemed like a man, creeping around, peering around doors. Now, I'm assuming they heard us upstairs, and when they heard the scream, they thought that it was us upstairs. There must be another way up there we don't know about, but obviously we ran down the steps. Now, why was someone creeping around specifically looking for someone in the house? Why, if they didn't have bad intentions, did they not call out that they were here, so that we could all just nose in the house together? Why were they on their own? I don't know. I whispered to them that we need to quickly get out that window. They all agreed, and on three, we all darted towards the window. Two of my friends jumped out, so it was just me and one other guy that were waiting to leave. That's when I heard running on the top of the staircase. We were spotted. My other friend jumped out the window, and I could hear all my friends telling me to jump out too. But something was stopping me. I was frozen in fear. Fight or flight. But I wasn't doing either. I completely froze. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I could see the man coming down the stairs as quickly as possible towards me. I could see his face now, and he looked angry. I was so terrified, and then all of a sudden, I felt someone behind me lifting me out the window. It was Mike. Mike dragged me out the window, and that's when my body kicked into action. We all charged towards our car as fast as we possibly could, our hearts beating so fast we couldn't even hear what we were saying. We got in the car, and I drove off as quickly as possible, my hand shaking as I was turning the keys. As we were driving off, we could see the man leaving the house, throwing his arms in the air and punching the ground, as if he'd lost us, as if we were something that he needed that he didn't get. Now we drove back to my house, and we were all terrified. One of my friends suggested to call the police, but what were the police going to do? Technically, we were trespassing, as well as whoever was in that house. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know who that man was, what he wanted, but the whole situation terrified me. It made me realise that despite me wanting to overcome my fears, there are some fears that you don't need to overcome. You didn't need to go into that old abandoned house. You didn't need to put yourself in danger like that. Not just physical danger from this random man who seemed to be so angry at us for no reason, but the danger of treading on a rusty nail or cutting yourself on some old glass. It was just stupid. Now, we got back to my house and we're all pretty shaken up. We all vowed never to go back there again. But part of us does want to go back in the morning, just to see if anyone's there. We decided not to, but I'm still kind of curious. Later that day, my friend had to head back to town, so we never actually got to go back. I'm actually still considering going and having a look, but I'd bring someone with me. Never know what you guys think, but I have no idea what this person would have wanted. I think it was a really stupid thing to do, but my advice to anyone out there is don't go and explore old abandoned buildings. There's so much risk involved and very little to no reward. Anyway, thanks for listening to the story. This story happened when I was about 35 years old, and I was definitely old enough to know better. Now, I live in a town that is completely landlocked, but I've always had a passion for the sea. I absolutely love the sea and anything to do with the water. I've signed up to a local gym that's quite expensive just because I want to swim. Even if it's just in a pool, I just love being in the water. It makes me feel so free. However, unfortunately, due to living in this landlocked town, I don't get out to the seaside as much as I'd like to. So, normally once every couple of summers, me and a group of friends and family all rent out a villa on the coast. This villa is beautiful, it's secluded, and the perfect place just to chill out and relax with your friends. Normally, we have loads of barbecues and we buy a ton of food. Everyone chips in so it's not too expensive. And we go swim in the sea and surf, and all around it's just a great time. Anyway, this one day we were at the villa. It was during our summer break, and I was swimming in the sea for about an hour. Now, not too far out that no one could see me, but far enough out that my feet couldn't touch the ground. There was one other friend out with me too, but he was getting tired, so he said he was going to head back to shore and asked me to come with him. I said no, I was going to stay out for a little bit longer, to which he said to just stay in sight, and I agreed. Anyway, after about 15 minutes of swimming, I decided that I'd like to come back. So I paddled my little surfboard back to the edge of the shoreline, and I got out and just went and hung out with my friends for a while. We started playing cards, and me and a couple of my friends got into poker. The game got a little bit heated, and there was a couple of arguments, but it was definitely the point where we needed to stop the game for a while. We stopped the game for a while and just had a couple of beers and spoke for a bit. The guys said they were getting tired, so they headed back to bed. I said that I was going to come back in a minute. I just wanted to grab something. Now, I went to go grab my shoes when I had the sudden but stupid thought to go for one last quick swim. It was almost our last day at the villa, and I knew that I wasn't going to be at the sea for at least another year. Screw it, I thought. One more quick swim won't hurt. So I jumped in the sea and I started swimming out. Now I probably got 15 or 20 meters out, definitely far enough out that your feet can't touch the ground. However, it was quickly getting darker, and more than likely no one could see me from this far out. All of a sudden, I realised that I'm alone in the middle of the sea and no one knew where I was. That realisation made me realise how stupid it was to come out here on my own, this far out, when no one could see me or probably even hear me because of the wind. So I decided to swim back. However, as I started swimming, I wouldn't move. I was caught in a current. At this point I started to panic, and I decided to swim as hard as I possibly could to get back to the shore. However, no matter how hard I swam, I wouldn't move. The wind was picking up now, and the sea was a lot more choppy than when I was last in it. I didn't really notice when I swam out, but now I was out here, it was much different to the half an hour or so before when I was in here. It's crazy how much the sea can change in just a matter of minutes. I started feeling weaker and weaker, and I started shouting out for help. I was treading water for what was probably about a minute, but no one came out. I could feel my legs getting heavy, and I could feel my arms starting to ache. This is where I realised I'm in big trouble, and I need to conserve my energy. I didn't know what to do, and no matter how hard I tried, I could not get myself to the shore. At this point, I decided I need to make a plan. My legs were starting to feel really heavy, and I felt like I could go under within the next minute or two. Now, I'm a strong swimmer, but swimming all day and being stuck in this current, not being able to move, and exerting so much energy had completely drained me. I was no longer breathing normally, and I was breathing heavily in and out of my mouth. You know that breathing you do after you've just gone for a long run or you've sprinted somewhere? It was kind of like that. I was panicking and I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, I saw my friend come out looking for me. He must have realised I wasn't there. I was waving my arms, but it didn't appear like he saw me. He went back inside. I could see the faint silhouette of someone moving around, almost as if they were looking for me. But to no avail. I decided to give it one more big push. So I braced myself and kicked my legs as hard as I possibly could, and I broke free. With the remainder of my energy, I swam slowly to the shore. I got to the point where I could feel the sand underneath my feet, and I stumbled forwards and collapsed on the sand. At which point, someone else came out and saw me collapse on the ground. They ran up to me and grabbed me and helped me up, but I just kept collapsing back to the ground. I was physically and emotionally exhausted from what happened. They called out a couple of my friends, and everyone come running out. Once I caught my breath, I explained to them what happened. They told me how angry they was at me for not telling them that I was going out one more time, and that I could have died out there. I knew how stupid it was, and to be honest, I will never do that again in my life. I have a newfound respect for the sea. I always knew how powerful it was and how quickly it could change, but the sea can be a cruel mistress, and you're never really as safe as you think you are. If you ever plan on going for a swim in the sea, always tell someone you're going. Always make someone aware of where you are, because if it wasn't for pure luck, I would have been dead right now. I don't think I had more than a minute of swimming left in me, and I was physically exhausted by the time I got back to the shore. It kind of put me off swimming for a little while, and I didn't go for a few months. I definitely will go swimming again in the sea, but I'm only ever going to go in the daytime with my friends, and when it's not too choppy. There's something about this kind of experience that changes you slightly as a person. Something that, when you feel like you were so close to death, and you just about escaped, you can't not learn from that, right? So that's my story. I know it's not as scary as some of the others that you hear on here, but this is my story. It happened to me, and I want other people to learn from it. Hello everyone, this is the part of the video where there's no more stories. So if you're only here for the stories, then there's plenty more on my channel, and plenty of other channels out there that narrate stories much better than I do. But if you're just here for the chat, then that's what I'm here for too. How have you guys been? What have you been up to? Have you done anything interesting? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely interested. You may have noticed that I didn't actually upload any news stories last week. That's just because I've had a cold and my voice was just in absolute bits. I couldn't record without coughing or sniffing every 5 seconds, and my voice was going. It was really annoying. I probably still sound a little bit run down now, and to be honest, I don't feel particularly great still, but I feel much better than what I did. I'm just one of those people, I think, that I always get colds. I always seem to, like, if there's one going, I'll get it. I don't know why, because I'm not unhealthy. I'm just, I think I must just be prone to it. I don't think it's a lifestyle thing either, because I always wash my hands and I use antibacterial gels and everything. So I don't understand why I seem to pick up colds so easily. If you are like that as well, let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's anything that you can actually do about it, because I wish I could just take something that would boost my immune system a little bit. Now, I'm not expecting to never get a cold, but it's so annoying when you constantly get them. I find that especially when I've been out on like a train, I seem to get colds. I think it might be something to do with like underground trains around London, or I find whenever I go to London, like, which isn't that often, I seem to get a cold. I get it when I go on like planes sometimes. I get a cold when I come off, I suppose because the air circulating. Speaking of air, I'm in the notorious windy spot. You can probably hear the wind. It's kind of late when I'm recording this, so it is a little bit cold, but there's just always a breeze for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. This spot is really windy, but some of you said you like it, and I quite like it too. So yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I remember a while back, at the end of one of the videos, when I do the chat, I was speaking about wanting to take up a new hobby potentially, and I asked you guys, like, what would you suggest? And someone made a suggestion. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but it got me thinking about a topic to talk about. They suggested bungee jumping, and I'm one of those people where I'm a bit scared of those things. I'm scared of heights. I'm not afraid to admit that I just don't like it. I'm scared of heights. I'm scared of spiders too. Those are my two biggest fears. I find it's like, is it worth the risk with bungee jumping? Like, I know you're probably very safe, but it's the thought of it. Like, is it worth jumping off this building with a bit of elastic or whatever attached to you? I don't know. I don't really know. I can imagine it's exhilarating while you do it, but to be fair, I would be scared the day before, scared going up, scared when I'm about to jump, scared when I'm jumping, relieved when it's over. So I don't think that doesn't sound like enjoyment to me. It's the same as skydiving. I just don't know if I could do skydiving, because same thing. Does it add value to my life? You know, that's the way I look at it. Like, it's probably great fun, but I'd be terrified. I'd be mortified. Like, if you can do it and you enjoy it and you get like a thrill out of it, fair enough. I know I wouldn't. I'd just be scared. I'd just be terrified the entire time. So I wouldn't do it. What I meant by hobbies, I kind of meant like origami, something on that kind of level. I just meant something quite basic. I'm a bit of like, I don't know, what's the word? I'm just a little bit scared of those things. I find it interesting though how some people's brains are just differently wired. Like, I find it interesting how you can get someone who could be like so outgoing and just want to do like, you know, bungee jumping and be the life and soul of a party, but how like you get other people who are just introverted and don't want to go anywhere near these sort of things, you know. And I personally find the brain a fascinating topic, you know. And I spoke before, I think, about the uncanny valley theory, where something can be so human looking yet fundamentally different, and it can trigger like feelings of unease. And like, how does that sort of I suppose the interesting thing behind that is, when did that develop within the brain to have a distaste and disgust for something that looks almost human but not completely right? And why is it also in primates too? Because they looked at it in some kind of monkey, I believe, and they found that it possibly is in those two. You know, I find the brain fascinating. Why did these things develop? What was the need for it? Like, there's so many things within our brain, and I find it fascinating how you know, I've done a lot of these this sounds like proper waffling, but it's going somewhere. Like, I find it interesting how I've done loads of these charity of the month things, where we donate every month to charity, and one of those that I really do care about, I care about all of them, but I particularly care about is Mind. Mind's a really great charity that do such great work. They help people with anxiety and depression, and it really is a great cause. I'll link them in the description. But where I was going with this is, they when looking into these sort of topics from doing these charity of the months, I come across something called mindfulness techniques, which is something that's been used for thousands of years, and it's something that I would recommend anyone that struggles with mental health looks into. It's something that you can do every day. You can do any kind of task mindfully. You could be making a tea and, you know, purely focusing on what you're doing and feeling how the cup feels and how the water looks when it goes into the mug and how warm it feels in your hands, and, you know, doing something like that mindfully rather than, and trying to fixate your attention on something, can reduce can help, you know, over time can help reduce levels of anxiety. Living in the moment, like being present is the word for it, I think. Being present in things. And I don't want to get any facts or anything wrong, but I believe I read about there being an area in the brain that was enlarged during periods of anxiety, and that was, after doing mindfulness techniques, that was seen to have shrunk over time in this individual. And it's just such a fascinating, you know, idea, mindfulness, and it's really beneficial to so many people. So I would recommend it to anyone. It's really something you can do in your own way as well. It's not strict and a rigid routine. It's something that anybody can do. It really is amazing. But yeah, anyway, I'll leave some links in the description if you're interested in learning about it. But yeah, to be honest, I'm really tired at the moment, so my brain's not working very well. But I've been watching that Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. And you know, Evan Peters, I think his name is, he's such a good actor. I really wish, I used to want to like after watching films I used to want to be an actor. I was like, that would be an amazing job, but I kind of went off of it. But can you imagine how like, it must be so strange to you know, be in front of, the way I see it is like, you're in front of all these people, you know, you've got camera crew, you've got directors or whoever else there, and you're having to portray yourself as somebody else and try and, now, how do you know it's good? How do you know what you're doing is good, you know? And it must be such a like difficult thing to act well, to be a good actor. It must be so difficult, because I was thinking, like, when Evan Peters was doing that role, like, he's doing the accent, he's doing the same sort of mannerisms, he's obviously portraying himself in a way that's not naturally him. It's just such an interesting topic, isn't it? I think anyway, like people being actors and I find it strange as well that we know it's not real. Like when we're watching movies of like Marvel or DC or anything else, we know it's not real. We know these people are pretending to do this, but it's still interesting. I find it really strange, like the actual idea of like movies and films and like fake TV dramas, whatever. Like things like, in England we have like EastEnders and that kind of thing. But no, I find it so strange that it's something that people actually are into, because we know it's not real, and it's strange how even though you know that, it kind of can grip you still. Like with horror movies, most of the time, if it's based on a true story, so I find it a bit more creepy. But even things that aren't based on a true story, it's just strange that we can still be scared of something that we know isn't real. I just find it interesting how the brain can work in that way. But yeah, I'm waffling, proper waffling. I'm gonna talk about something close to my heart. I realised that earlier on, right? I made myself my my tea as per usual, standard stuff, the norm, and I went to go have some biscuits with it, of course, and I've completely run out of jammy Dodgers. There's nothing worse than when you think something's sitting there, and I've got a theory that someone's nicked it. I think someone's stolen my jammy Dodgers, because everyone here knows the jammy Dodgers are mine, right? But whenever I go and have some, and I don't think, because it's making me doubt myself as well, because I go down there, I'm like, there's more than that in there. There's definitely more than that in the pack. But no one admits to it, so it's like, it's one of them. I'm going to need to start counting how many I've got left. But then, I've done it before, right, where I've bought food, and I put my name on it, and people are like, oh, why are you putting your name on the food? I was like, because you eat it. What do you mean, why I put my name on it? Claiming it, marking my territory. But I don't know. So the jammy Dodgers are gone. I don't think I finished them. I think someone's being sneaky, but I don't know. I'm doubting myself. So anyway, I've not got any jammy Dodgers. I had to have some custard creams, which are nice. They're not as nice as jammy Dodgers, But yeah. Also, obviously, that means the diet, as per. Diet starts tomorrow. No, I'm joking. The diet's been okay. I've not been good. I've not been bad. I've kind of been in the middle. It doesn't help that McDonald's have that monopoly thing back as well, because I don't normally go for McDonald's, right? I don't normally eat fast food. I'm not a fast food person at all. I'm not someone who craves like fast food. But if Monopoly's on, I always think to myself, I'll get a McFlurry, I'll get a Coke, because then you might win another one, and then you can get something in the future. It always annoys me. Like, I get that Monopoly thing, and I just want like a hash brown or something, or a cheeseburger, but I always end up getting like, it's always like Gardner Streets. No, for God's sake, I didn't want that. I don't care about the actual Monopoly side of it. I just want the free food. But yeah, so that's made a bit more of a challenge to my diet, because I enjoy the McDonald's Monopoly, and yeah, I've had some trouble with my car recently. I don't know what it is, but every time I turn my wheel to the right, left or right, it makes this weird squeaking noise, and I'm kind of scared to go and get it looked at, but I know I need to. I might have to ask someone who knows about cars to have a look at it, because I don't want to spend a fortune if something's gone wrong, but I'm kind of scared to go and ask, because cars are just money pits, aren't they? And it's so annoying, because it's always when you think things are going too well with your car that something happens. It's always something with a car, isn't it? I think if I lived in like a city or something, I would probably just sell my car and just get trains everywhere. Because everything's so local, and if you live in like London, everything's so close. You always got trains everywhere, so you haven't really got to stress. But if you live outside, you're kind of better off having a car because it's a bit difficult to get places. I remember when we was talking about if we won the lottery, what would we do? I think I would buy a car that I'd try and buy the world's most reliable car, whatever that is. I'd get the world's most reliable car. I think my problem as well is that because I don't like have really modern cars or anything, like I don't have like all luxury goods. I just have like, my standard car. It's not like new, so it's probably on the way out in some ways. So things are going to start going wrong with it. But I feel like if you have loads of money, you don't have to have the car that I've got. Do you know what I mean? If you was loaded, you wouldn't have the car I've got, basically. So if I won the lottery, I could just get like I won't get a fast car because I'm scared of everything, but I would get I'd get like a nice, I don't know, maybe a truck. I think I am driving a truck. I probably couldn't reverse it in anything. No, I get like a nice Ford, like a reliable Ford, or a Toyota or something. Something I know is just going to be nice and reliable. I think yeah, something like that. But in some ways, I kind of like my old car. It's like it's got some weird like things inside it. Like it's kind of quirky. I don't know. I like it. It's got character. I feel like new cars don't have character in some ways. I kind of like my old car. I don't know if you guys feel the same. I'm not a car person at all either. I don't do cars up. I don't have any interest in having an expensive car ever in my life, because for me, a car just gets you from A to B. I don't care. If people are like, oh yeah, but it might go 0 to 60 in 1 millisecond, I just don't care. It doesn't interest me. Like, oh, you can skid along the floor in it and do donuts or whatever. I don't care. It doesn't impress me. I've got some friends that are really into cars, and they do stuff to the exhaust, and it's like makes it loud. And like, why would you want to drive a loud car? Just give you a headache. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the wrong there. I just feel like, I'm not saying my car's a tip. I don't leave it a tip. It's kind of generally quite clean, but I don't think I'd have any interest in having a modern car. And also then you're sitting there thinking, like, with my car, I can park anywhere. I don't care if I get a little ding. Don't make a difference. Like, if someone hits my car, oh no, I wouldn't be happy if someone hit my car. That's a bit of a lie. But if I got like a little ding, I wouldn't care, or a little scratch. But if I had a modern car, like a really expensive car, like say if I won the lottery and I had like a really, like the top of the range car, I'd be scared to park it anywhere in case someone hit it or whatever. I don't know. I've rambled on for well too long now. Look at the time. Okay. Thanks a lot for listening to this video. I appreciate all of you. Please check out the charity of the month. If you're going to do anything on this channel, I don't care if you like this video. I don't care if you share. I don't care. The one thing I'd like you to do is check out the charities in the description. Even if you just check out the mindfulness or something like that, something that can help you or someone else. If anything, share the charity stuff. Anyway, thanks a lot. I appreciate all of you listening, and I love you all. Speak to you soon. Bye.